What isn't like it is in the movies? Carrying an unconscious person. Found out the hard way when my wife was sick and fainted. An unconscious body is surprisingly limp and slippery. Try to lift them by the armpits? Nope, that just makes the arms flail and they'll slip right through your fingers. Try to lift them from under the knees and around the back? Nope, their back won't stay stiff enough and their ass will just sink to the floor. Not to mention their head is rolling around the whole time. This is why the fireman's carry exists and has to be trained. It's surprisingly hard to pick up a body. You're right, but I'm a fireman and we never use or even train that. It's just too hard to stand up a limp body even with perfect techniques, so we typically use webbing rope to drag victims or other carries. Plus, you don't want to lift a person up into the hot smoke in a fire. Car accidents. People don't just lightly bleed from their heads then die. They are some of the goriest, most traumatic deaths I've seen outside of combat footage. Driving. Unlike in the movies, you really have to pay attention to the road. Parking too. It's very rare to get a space just outside where you need to be. I always stare at my passenger for extended periods while we converse just to see how long it takes for them to panic. Air conditioning vents silently and easily being removed or put in. Air conditioning vents that are large enough for an adult to crawl through, are spotlessly clean, are quiet enough for the hero to sneak through. In reality, the banging of you moving about would echo and be loud. Always go to a place in the building where the hero can get a view of what's going on without being spotted. Always have an exit in a convenient place with no bad guys. Getting hit in the head. No, John, you won't wake up with a minor headache 10 minutes later. You'll wake up a decade later with a wheelchair. Street fights are deadly. It is never worth the risk over stupid pride, unless your life is in danger. Ripping out your four is a terrible idea. Or how the patient came out of the coma, left the room to go find the person who wronged them or loved one without alerting any nurse, doctor, or security. LOL, what? Basically, everything about guns. Drywall and furniture don't stop bullets. Reloading is a thing. Please stop cocking your weapon to look cool. Half of your rounds are on the ground. And so many more. Also, simply handling a gun doesn't make that weird, muffled clickety sound it does in movies. If you pick up a firearm and it makes noise just moving it around, something is very wrong, and you should not fire it. My big peeve is suppressors. For those who don't know, silencers typically reduce the volume of gunshots by 30 to 40 dB. Gunshots are typically 160 plus dB, louder indoors due to the reverb. So at best, firing a gun indoors will be about 130 dB with a silencer. An ambulance siren is 120 dB for comparison. Digging a grave. Soil is much harder than what movies pretend. It's always so perfectly rectangle, with straight sides, dug by hand. Living in a bad neighborhood. Most days nothing major happens. Same with prison. A former online friend told me prison is boring. He spent lots of time reading books. But they also had access to drugs. He is a meth head now, and made their own alcohol. Waking up. You do not wake up fully refreshed, dressed, hair done, and the blankets are still neat on the bed. Working in an office. I really question whether a screenwriter or director has worked a regular 9 to 5 office job a day in their lives. Office Space is actually pretty damn accurate for that work style. Watching Office Space as a teen. This is a comedy. Watching Office Space as an adult. This is a documentary. It is hilarious to me how that movie came out in 1996, mocking an office culture that has been well in existence for over 30 years at that point, and now nearly 30 years after the movie's release, it's still an incredibly accurate portrayal of today's office culture, at least from my experience. One exception. Most workers wish they had a cubicle. It's all open space now. Breakfast in America, the mom makes a big spread with pancakes, bacon and eggs, all that stuff. Just for someone to pick up a slice of toast and rush off. I'd be super pissed. A cough is not usually the sign of a terminal illness. One man shooting at 20 men does not have a better chance of killing them than 20 men firing at one man. Most laptop computers are probably not powerful enough to override the communication systems of any invading alien civilization. You can't always find a chainsaw when you need one. It is unlikely that a man will show no pain while taking the most ferocious beating but will wince when a woman tries to clean his wounds. Teachers or people with low-paying jobs owning or renting massive houses, apartments. Grenades in movies always make a giant explosion with a fireball that makes bad guys fly through a window or ragdoll across a field. In real life, they make a loud bang and a puff of smoke. They just throw shrapnel everywhere and make people bleed profusely. The lack of farts, peeing, and shitting. Going through glass. That shit is dangerous as fuck. Potential major lacerations every time. Speaking from my experience as well as to others. Guns. No, you don't flinch that much when hit by a bullet. There's the possibility that your body does not even register process being hit by a bullet altogether. No, headshots will not make you shoot your head backwards and slowly fall down. If you catch a bullet to the head, you drop like a sack of potatoes. Nothing. Lights out. Pretty much everything. Nobody has that many interesting things happen to them. Nobody is as quick and witty as movies would have you believe. Watching a real person's life would be boring with very long stretches between even slightly significant events. Pointing at a girl in a bar and saying, "You see that girl? I'm going to marry her someday," and then somehow doing so. But it happened. My friend Barney can confirm for you. Death. We're a lot more brittle than you'd think, yet in the moments before death you might last long enough to tell your family you love them on a stranger's phone. Especially in kung fu karate fights, bad guys respectfully wait for their turn to be taken out by the main guy. They never attack all together at the same time. Your wife partner so going into labor and giving birth. They always show the water breaking. Then the woman is rushed to the hospital, where she's promptly placed in a wheelchair, carted into a room, and then goes into labor where she yells and pushes and generally does the thing. This labor process appears to take anywhere from 1 to 8 hours in any given media outlet, barring any given complication that extends her stay. Let me tell you, when my wife had our first child, it did not go like that at all. She had to be induced. She spent 2 days mostly doing nothing but sleeping in the hospital bed. I was getting frustrated, bored, and tired, and even at one point asked her, "Shouldn't you be doing something, like pushing?" By the way, terrible idea, 010 do not recommend saying that to your partner. But yeah, the media always makes it seem rushed and efficient, and glazes over the actual timeline. My waters broke and it took next 36H of various interventions to actually get the kid out. My friend's waters broke and she was chill about it, expecting exactly this. Next thing she remembers is her brooch pinching her chin as she was pushing her kid out in a ball gown, while paramedics tried to assemble the trolley under her. 30 minutes start to finish. Sharks. Movies make you think they are bloodthirsty man-eaters, who kill humans for sport. Although they aren't 100% harmless, most sharks don't actually like the taste of human and will spit it out. They also often say, "shark-infested waters," which is like saying human-infested buildings. I'm no Ryan fucking Gosling, she's no Emma fucking Stone. There's no Lala in my land. If I get out of the car in the middle of the traffic and start dancing, they would either beat me or arrest me. Probably both. Happy endings. Even the absolute best day of your life ends and you wake up next day, you commute to your job, put up with your boss bullshit, get irritated by the never-ending gossip of Megan from work, and go back to home to a cup of instant ramen and beef on Netflix. Okay, scrolled long enough and haven't seen anyone bring up family dynamics. I personally spent way too much of my life longing for a family life like those in the movies, where everyone has their quirks and dysfunctions but still manage to be a family unit, and have each other's backs when shit gets tough, and they have that unconditional love. Reality is nothing like the movies. And not all mothers are as loving and doting on their daughters like I nearly always see in movies. I can promise my birth giver was my nemesis from early on. Wedding cake tasting. My fiancée and I recently went, and she expected it like in the movies where we would get a bunch of different slices to try. Instead, we got a taste of the pastry for the vanilla cake and little plastic cups of what the layers could be, and we had to mix and match everything ourselves to pick what we wanted. The whole time she kept telling me that this isn't what she was promised by rom-coms. Being talked to by the police. In the movies, people keep fixing their car, working on their construction site, or walking while they talk, etc. If the police show up to question you about something, you're puckering up and standing still. America. I grew up in Lebanon and moved here at 18. My first 18 years I watched American movies and fell in love with the apparent culture. Americans fighting for the underdog, fighting against racism, fighting for women, protecting women, cops doing real investigations, the fair judicial system, the great American college system, great medical system. I learned after being here for over 20 years that we're a mess. So much more work to do, but still love this country like no other. Merca. Treating wounds. If you get stabbed in the abdomen, you're not all better just because someone stitches up your skin. Same with gunshots. Movies act like nothing important is under the skin. At Christmas, you buy your young kids toys. They show enthusiasm and spend all day playing with those toys. This does not happen. They play with them for a few minutes, then get bored and play with all their old toys or the box. Source: my 2-year-old. What isn't like it is in the movies? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.